Hello. Today we're going to talk about adjectives and adverbs, their syntax and their morphology. Adjectives have degrees. We have two kinds of degrees, comparative and superlative. In the degree of comparative, we can have equality, inferiority, or superiority. In the degree of superlative adjectives, we have inferiority or superiority. The comparative of equality of adjectives is usually expressed by the combination as, adjective, as. He is as tall as she is, or he is as tall as her, or as in the last example, they work as fast as we do. In both of these examples, there is an equality between the characteristic being described, which is tall and fast. However, in the middle example, he isn't as good as we are, or he isn't as good as us. This equality is taken away because the negative actually makes a comparison saying that we are better. The comparative of inferiority is usually expressed by the combination less plus adjective plus than. For example, this car is less expensive than that one. You are less inconvenient than he is, or you are less inconvenient than him. However, examples such as Talia is less young than Bruna and she wakes up less early than us are not very common in the language. Preferably, people would say that Bruna is younger than Talia and we wake up earlier. It is important to point out that for nouns, a lot of people confuse the use of little and few for countable and uncountable nouns with comparing adjectives. So they think that the comparative of inferiority less is used for all of it, but we only use less when we're talking about less plus a noun if we're talking about an uncountable noun. So he spends less money than you, but if you're talking about a countable noun, then you use fewer. They read fewer books than we do. Regarding the comparative of superiority, for all adjectives with one syllable or adjectives with two syllables that end in those examples there, we use the combination of adjective plus er. John is richer than Paul. Gertrude is prettier than me. Today is hotter than yesterday. For adjectives with two or more syllables, and for adverbs, we use the combination more plus adjective plus than, or the adverb in the case. That pair of shoes was more expensive than this one. They studied the rule more carefully than the others. Here we can point out the adjective fun, which is actually a one-syllable adjective, but it's used with more so that it is not going to be confused with funny or funnier. There are some special cases in comparative of superiority, which are the adjectives good, bad, and far. The forms of the comparatives then are better than, worse than, farther, or further than. Superlative works very similarly to the comparatives in terms of grammatical and morphological rules. The inferiority in the superlative is expressed by the expression the least plus the adjective. This car is the least expensive of the agency, and you are the least short in the classroom. The superlative of superiority works similarly also to the comparatives. All adjectives with one syllable and adjectives with two syllables which end in terminations of words or suffixes mentioned there. The combination of the plus adjective plus est is the rule. John is the richest guy of the city. Yesterday was the hottest day of the week. This is the easiest exercise of the book. Are you the smartest in your group? And then for adjectives with 2 syllables or more, the combination is the most plus adjective. Michelle is the most skillful at data computing. He is the most careless driver that I've ever known. Again, the superlative of superiority has special cases when it comes to the adjectives good, bad, and far. Good turns into the best, bad into the worst, and far, the furthest, or the furthest. Adjectives also can express or have a gradual increase. And this increase is formed by repeating twice the adjective in the comparative of superiority. So if I want to say cada vez mais frio, I would say colder and colder, and not the usual literal translation, each time colder. If I want to say cada vez mais famoso, I would say more and more famous, and not each time more famous. Other examples, they are getting fatter and fatter. This is becoming more and more interesting. There's also the possibility of expressing parallel increase, and it's formed by using the article the and the adjectives in the comparative of superiority. So if I want to say quanto mais pesado, mais caro, I just say the heavier, the more expensive. Adjectives usually obey a specific word order, right? This word order happens according to their meaning. So if it is usually have an adjective of opinion, it's going to be the first in the list. Then successively comes size, shape, age, color, origin, and material. Here we have an example. An ugly, large, stained, antique crimson Persian carpet. Do you see any problem in the structure of the sentences below? She noticed the house was very filthy. His children were rather starving. The room was pretty crowded last night. Here are some extreme adjectives and modifiers that are usually part of expressing and describing qualities. So if I have, for example, angry, if I want to use the extreme, I'm going to use the word furious. If I'm going to use the extreme of clean, I'm going to say spotless. And here are some more examples then. With regular adjectives, we can usually use these adverbs. A little, a bit, slightly, fairly, very, rather, extremely, immensely, intensely, hugely. For examples, I'm rather hungry or I'm very hungry. This room is a bit dirty. This room is extremely dirty. We are a little tired. We're immensely tired. With extreme adjectives, we cannot use these adverbs, such as rather, or extremely, or very. We can use absolutely, we can use completely, we can use utterly. For example, I'm absolutely furious. We're completely exhausted. The movie was utterly terrifying. The words pretty and really can be used with both regular and extreme adjectives. So I can say this room is pretty dirty or pretty filthy. The party is really crowded or really packed. Then we move on to adverbs. Adverbs modify actions such as verbs or other adjectives or even other adverbs. Here are some examples of adverbs modifying verbs. The bird was chirping outside, which tells us where. The bird chirped today. When? The bird chirped loudly. How? The bird never chirped. To what extent? It is very common for adverbs to answer questions such as how, when, where, or to what extent. For example, how much, how long, or how often. Here are some examples of adverbs that modify adjectives. It was a fiercely competitive game. The adjective here is competitive, but then we have the adverb saying fiercely. The exceptionally brave police officer was given an award. Brave, here is the adjective for police officer. Exceptionally being the adverb modifying the adjective. There are also adverbs which modify other adverbs, and here are some examples. The guy spoke extremely slowly. Slowly is an adverb modifying the verb spoke, and extremely is referring or modifying slowly. We will go to the mall later today. Today is an adverb that is saying when we will go to the mall. Later is another adverb modifying today. It is very common to confuse sometimes if it is a noun or an adverb. When you are actually identifying the part of speech, and this part of speech is specifying exactly, for example, how it is something is being done, or where something is being done, so modifying the verb, right? Or where, then it's usually taken as an adverb. So, I was at home. Okay, I was at home. Home is the place where I am, but it's not modifying I was. However, be home by 9 o'clock is where I have to be. Therefore, home here is an adverb. If I have tomorrow is another day, here tomorrow is being used as a noun. But if I say, do you want to go to the zoo tomorrow? I'm asking when the person wants to go to the zoo, therefore referring to the action, therefore being an adverb. More information will be given to you on the following activities. We also have some adverbs which don't usually change their form. And if they change, such as the case of late and hard, they will mean something different. Adjectives such as fast, well, and early, they don't use the termination ly as an extra. Such as, for example, beautifully or slowly. Here are some frequency adverbs. Always, never, seldom, sometimes, hardly ever, often, rarely. Giving examples of how the words late and hard change meaning when talking about their function as an adjective. Their function as an adverb. Right? Lately versus late. They came home late. Late means tarde, right? That's how, like, when did they come home? Lately, I've been feeling tired. Lately refers to the word ultimamente, so it's more like a period. Hardly versus hard. She did hardly any work. It means she didn't do practically any work. 0. And she worked hard is exactly the opposite. She really, really worked a lot.